This is the first set of notes for the cell unit. We are on page 2 of the notes, and we have to do this page first before we can look at cell types because we need to know what organelles are. So this is what you see on the top of the second page. Underline EU and write YOU up above it. There's two reasons for this. One, EU is pronounced YOU, and you have eukaryotic cells. So all animals have eukaryotic cells. We are part of the animal kingdom. We're at the top. All plants have eukaryotic cells, and you can see they look a little bit different. Shape is the first thing you notice, and then some different organelles in there. Also, algae look like this, the green stuff that's in the ponds and ditches in the summertime. Also, mushrooms, which are fungi or fungi, they also have cells like this minus these green organelles. So your notes are numbered. So number 1 in this picture here and number 1 in the plant picture matches number 1 in the notes underneath. So all of these numbers match the numbered list of organelles below. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to look at going underneath these pictures now. The first word you see is organelle. Okay, and here's what you're filling in. You're filling in the last part of L, E-L-L-E, and tiny. So you already know what an organ is. A heart is an organ. Lungs. Okay, liver. So those are organs. And organelle, the suffix L means tiny. So an organelle is like a tiny organ. And that's because organs have only one main function. So your heart pumps blood to your entire body. That's its one main function. Organelles also have one main function. So now we're going to look, this is number 1. So if we look at our pictures, that is this in black and white, and then this number 1 is in color. It kind of has squiggly lines in it, or lines that kind of weave in and out. So this is called the mitochondria. So over here is how it is pronounced. What I want you to do is take this CH, underline it, and write the letter K up above it. So even though it is spelled this way, it is pronounced this way. So to help you pronounce it, it's mitochondria. So underline that CH and write a K. So the job of the mitochondria, this tiny organ or organelle, it makes energy from sugar called ATP. So we already know that from the last unit that carbohydrates are made up of sugar, and their job is to make ATP or make energy. This is where the sugar that we eat goes. It is in this organelle, and you can see there's little kinds of lines all over the place in there, which is why it is in this picture has little lines in it, and this picture has little lines in it. This is a picture from the released state exam. This is just a picture I got off the internet. Okay, so mitochondria, tiny organ. Ribosomes is number 2. It is the site of protein synthesis. You're filling in what's in red. Well, what does the word synthesis mean? Here it is right here. So synthesis means to make something. So protein synthesis means where proteins are made. And this is an electron microscope picture. Electron microscope fills a small room, and it is several $100,000, so we don't have one. This picture is magnified hundreds of thousands of times, and ribosomes kind of look like little dots of pepper. And you can even see here they have shadows because they're three-dimensional. In your notes, number 2, the little dot here is a ribosome. In fact, all of these little dots are all ribosomes. Cells have hundreds of thousands of ribosomes, which means you can make hundreds of thousands of proteins at one time. So number 2 over in this cell is right here. So each of these black dots is a ribosome. And plants also have hundreds of thousands of these. So their job is to make proteins. All right, number 3 is the cell membrane, also called a plasma membrane. And we'll get to why later in this unit. This surrounds all cells. It is selectively permeable. Well, the root word of selectively is select. So if you select something, what are you doing? Okay, you select something, you're picking it, you're choosing that. So this word, selectively permeable, means that the cell membrane chooses what materials enter and leave the cell. So some things are allowed in or out, like food, oxygen, waste. The waste that we urinate out comes from our cells, so they secrete that waste. But other things the cell doesn't want to get rid of, like proteins, which is one of our macromolecules from our first unit. Also, many organelles have cell membranes. So this is the cell membrane looking up close. It's actually got a couple of different layers. So you've got circles on the outside and little stringy things on the inside. And we'll learn about that a little bit later. So here is number 3. This is the cell membrane around the entire cell. That's why we call it cell membrane. In the plant cell, number 3 is the light green line. It is the cell membrane, and it also goes around the entire cell. Now, the mitochondria also has a membrane around it. This line around the mitochondria is a membrane. Ribosomes, they don't have membranes. But other organelles also have membranes. So let's look at our next one going down. Number 4 is the nucleus. Underline the C and write the letter K up above it. Nucleus. It is not pronounced nucleus. It is nucleus. Nucleus. It is the brain of the cell. The state exam likes to use control center. And if this jagged line here, this is the cell membrane that I'm tracing around right now. That's the cell membrane. This circle in the middle is the nucleus. And this is where the DNA is. And on this slide, you're filling in the blanks with the bolded white. So here's the nucleus in our animal cells. Here's the nucleus in the plant cell. It's usually drawn as a perfect circle, and it sometimes has a darker circle in it. We're not worrying about the darker circle. It is surrounded by a membrane. So the membrane also has a cell, like a membrane. We don't call it a membrane. We call it a nuclear membrane. It has a membrane around the nucleus. So it is one of those organelles that has a membrane. Okay, so now we know that the nucleus has a membrane and the mitochondria has a membrane. Nucleus and mitochondria have membranes. Ribosomes do not. Okay, moving on to the next organelle. Again, this is not pronounced vacuole. Underline the C and write a K up above it. So it is vacuole. Vacuole. Okay, and it's important because a lot of times students see terms written down and you mispronounce it yourself. So you think, well, Miss Edwards never talked about a vacuole, oli. I don't know what that is. So it does help you to know how to pronounce the words. And you're writing what's in white, bold. It is a storage sac for water, waste, or food. This is a plant cell, and notice it's kind of angular, it's not a circle. And it does have a membrane and a wall around it, but it's hard to see that in this picture. But this is the vacuole, this big blue thing. Plants have huge vacuoles. You ever put lettuce in your refrigerator? You take it out a few days later and it's all dried up. It's called wilted. That's because the vacuoles have dried out. Have you ever been in the grocery store to see them watering the produce? This is why. The grocery stores have to have really low humidity to keep bacterial growth down. So because of that, these vacuoles will empty out. All the produce is alive. You get raw potato, you get raw lettuce and tomatoes and carrots. They're all still alive. And you have to water them because the water's going to leave the vacuole and then the vegetable's going to shrivel up. Now, interesting to note, when we started the International Space Station, the first time we tried to grow seeds, it didn't work. They never sprouted. Turns out every seed from every plant on planet Earth knows which way is down. They know gravity. And without gravity, plants won't grow. And guys, we didn't figure this out until the 1990s, so that wasn't that long ago. This is a plant root, and these dark structures are vacuoles filled with sugar. And sugar's the heaviest of our foods. And so those vacuoles settle and tell the plant which way to grow. So if you look at this, the root is growing sideways. All of these heavy sacks of sugar, these vacuoles, they moved from here and they're down here. So what that tells the plant root is to grow this way. Okay, this root here is growing down, so this plant's going to continue to grow down. So we didn't officially know that until the 1990s when we tried to grow plants in outer space. So it's pretty cool. So your vacuole here, notice it's number 5. The vacuole in our animal cells is small. The vacuole in a plant cell is really big. And you're going to have to learn how to identify the difference between a plant and animal cell. And one of the ways you do that is you look for this huge vacuole. Animal cells won't have one. And this dark blue line is a membrane. So there is a membrane around the vacuole. Same thing in our cells. There's a membrane around that vacuole. Okay, next. Cell wall. Okay, literally, it is a rigid outer barrier of plant, bacterial, and fungi cells, and it is for support. You're writing in the bold white. So the way I remember cell wall, you have a wall to your bedroom, right? Got a wall to your house? Well, the wall protects you from the rain, the wind, the cold, the hot. So the wall does the same thing inside of a cell. This is literally what it looks like. The wall has lots of fibers going in it. And this is just a picture showing you what the fibers are made out of. And this is why your mama tells you you're supposed to eat your green veggies. The cell wall in vegetables helps keep your large intestines healthy. You can get cancer if you don't eat enough green veggies. Now, people that do eat enough green veggies sometimes get cancer too. We don't always understand the cause of cancer, but the cell wall, that's important. And plants are important for that reason. So it's number 6. That's the dark green layer in the plant cell. So the plant cell has 2 outer layers. It has a membrane, which is the light green, and it has a wall, which is the dark green. Notice the animal cells. We do not have a number 6. There's no 6 here because we don't have one. We have a membrane only. And that's a good thing because we can bend our fingers. You can dance, do all kinds of moves with dancing because we don't have cell walls. You ever try to snap a fresh green bean or fresh broccoli? They're hard. They're crunchy. They're hard because they have that cell wall. So they can't bend and move around as much as we do. Next is the chloroplast. And again, you have to underline that CH and write a K. It's not soloroplast, it is chloroplast. This one you might have been taught in middle school, at least you were supposed to be. This is where photosynthesis occurs. And again, you're writing down the bolded white terms. So photosynthesis occurs here. And I think all you learned in middle school was that photosynthesis is using the sun to make food. So here it says making food from the sun. And chloroplasts are green. These cells, I'm tracing one cell wall and cell membrane combined around one plant cell. So that's one cell. This is another cell. All these little green discs in there are chloroplasts. Your average plant has about 120 chloroplasts in every single cell in its leaf, which is why it's so green. And they soak up food from the sun. This is a cartoon version, and this is a real version of detailed version of what the chloroplasts look like. And interesting, in the fall, leaves change colors, and that's because the chloroplasts are dying. When the intensity of sunlight decreases to a certain percentage, the plants start killing off their chloroplasts, and then that allows you to see all the other colors that are in plants every day. It's just you can't see them because there's so many chloroplasts in the cell. You can't see the other colors. So in fall, we get to see all the other colors that are in plant cells. Plants have all these different colors because they are collecting different types of sunlight, the visible spectrum. You ever seen a rainbow? So that's all the visible spectrum. So what's happening is by plants having all these different colors in them, they're able to collect different wavelengths of light, and that will help them make food. So again, we don't have the number 7, but here's the plant cell number 7. Notice it looks like it's got like little miniature green stacks of pancakes in it. That's kind of what I looked at. So that's your chloroplast. And notice, to tell the difference between the chloroplast and the mitochondria, the chloroplast is bigger. The chloroplast has stacks of green stacks in them, or stacks of circles, whereas the mitochondria has little squiggly lines. So it's kind of a way to tell them apart. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to look at, as soon as I can find it here, maybe not. Where did it go? Okay, I'm not sure where here we go. Oh, here we go. Okay, the last two. Oh, whoops, sorry, cytoplasm. I lost track. I'm sorry about that. Cytoplasm, it's a clear liquid, and it's water mostly that fills the cell. So in this picture, it's yellow. Everything that's yellow is the cytoplasm. So the cytoplasm in a cell is like air is to us. We walk in air, we breathe air, it touches our bodies, it surrounds our furniture, our cars, and we don't even notice it. All these organelles float around inside the cytoplasm. So they're floating. And all cells have it. So in this picture, it's the white inside the cell, which looks like empty space, but it's not. In the plant cell, it's light blue. Okay. Now, there's 2 organelles that are used for movement. So these allow cells to move. Cilia, you're coloring the green, you're writing in the green, they're short hairs, and they move in waves. So you ever been at a ball game before, and everybody does the wave? That's literally how they move, and I got a video for that. The flagella, that has long hairs, and it moves like a whip. You ever seen, like in a circus, a lion tamer? It moves like a whip. And I got a video for that. Before we get to the videos, this is the easy part. The way I remembered these 2 terms sitting in your chair. between cilia and flagella. Cilia is the shorter word. So those are the short hairs. And that would be all these little tiny hairs right here. These are going to be cilia. Flagella is the longer word of these two, so that is the longer hair. And this is a sperm, and this is the flagella. Each sperm has one flagella, and this right here is a pack of mitochondria. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of mitochondria. A male human sperm can live inside the female's body for 3 days trying to find the egg. So someone might have relations on Friday night, for example, but they may not get pregnant till Monday morning. The sperm can swim around in the body for 3 days. This is why the morning after pill, if you've ever heard of that, this is why the morning after pill might work. If you take the morning after pill before you are pregnant, it will trick the egg into thinking it's pregnant, so it won't let the sperm in. If you're already pregnant, sorry, all bets are off. You wasted your money. Okay. Now we're going to look at cilia. Here we go. So we're going to look at this video. It's 19 seconds.
The hollow passages that go from our nose to our lungs are lined with cells like this that are covered with tiny hairs which sway backward and forward in a layer of mucus. They are the cilia. They sweep out any harmful particles and microorganisms that enter the trachea from the outside.
So, if I go back here, okay, this would be you inhale through your mouth or you breathe through your nose, you are inhaling fine particles in the air. Sand, dust, dirt, the COVID virus. This is why everyone's supposed to wear masks now. But in normal circumstances, not COVID, but normal circumstances, these little cilia, they are actually able to get rid of these sand particles so they don't get in our lungs. Every now and then you feel like a little tickling, or it's called a frog in your throat, and it makes you go to kind of clear it out. That's your throat telling you have so many particles of sand and whatnot that it's now you can feel it, and when you you clear your throat, you expel them out into the air. Okay. Now, unfortunately, cilia are not small enough to stop viruses. Okay. Now, flagella. Okay. And I'm going to stop partway through this, but flagella. These are human sperm cells.
In this video, we'll be looking at sperm specimens with varying motility scores utilizing the microscopes in our fertility laboratory. As we zoom in on this specimen with more and more magnification, we can see that the sperm motility is pretty good. Most of the sperm are progressively motile. Sperm motility scores represent the percentage of sperm that are actively swimming in a forward direction. Low sperm motility is a common cause of infertility. This specimen shows both a good count and a good motility. Here it is at higher magnification.
So when you look at these little flagella, you can see they move in like a whip-like fashion.
Where we can get a better idea of the morphology or shape of the sperm cells. This specimen demonstrates both a low count and a low motility.
So what that means is if you look in this slide, you don't see a whole lot of sperm, and with low motility, if you find a sperm, a lot of them are not moving. So there's a sperm, 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 but they're not moving. So usually as you get older, you have a less percentage of sperm actually moving around.
There are many immature sperm forms present, and the progressive motility is poor. Here is another example showing a poor count and poor motility.
This one's really bad, okay? So if you look at this sperm here, the flagella is hardly moving. In fact, that sperm can't actually move. It's moving the flagella, but it's not moving the sperm. So that would make getting pregnant hard.
This one also shows significantly abnormal morphology. Here's one more.
Okay, so I think we get the idea. So cilia and flagella. Okay, now right here, you need to label this arrow cilia in the notes. cilia. This big circle right here, what's the brain of the cell called? This is nucleus. So label this one nucleus. You can look up at number 4, or it's NUCLEUS. This one is something really cool. This is a contractile vacuole. So write the word contract, CONTRACT, and then add after contract, CONCRATIAL, contractial. Put an IAL at the end of contract, and then put the word vacuole. And now we're going to look at a contractile vacuole and how it works. This is a paramecium. It is a protist. It lives in the ponds. It uses its cilia to move, and in the video clip you'll see the cilia. And it has a bunch of contractile vacuoles. They fill up with water, like our bladder fills up with water, and when it gets full, it contracts and squirts the liquid out into the pond water. So we're going to look at that one now.
Meet Grammarly, the digital writing assistant that helps students create effective writing that delivers.
Okay, this is a food vacuole being made, and these are cilia that are making the food vacuole. What I want you to do is look right here now. This is there's a vacuole growing, getting bigger, 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 and it's poof, there it went. That's a contractile vacuole. And it's building up again, another contractile vacuole. Okay, and I'll show this one again. Okay, so here's a contractile vacuole growing right here. And there's another one over here. It's growing over here too. So this is a single-celled organism. It does not have an organ because its whole body is one cell. So a contractile vacuole works like a human bladder. And it creates a stomach by right there. There goes a food vacuole was just made. Okay, and now this is two paramecium running into each other, and the little hairy things here, those are the cilia. Because these organisms are only one cell thick, their whole body is one cell. They don't have eyeballs. So they run into each other and other things all the time. Okay, this is a lot of notes, I know. We are going to be doing a lot of practice with these terms. Okay.